I thought I knew my family, my father's pride, my sister's ambition, the legacy we built together. I'm Amanda, the COO who turned our company into a powerhouse. But at a single brunch, my father tore it all down, naming my sister Laura as his successor to balance my dominance. The betrayal cut deeper than I could say. So I walked away, leaving my keys and my life behind. But I wasn't done. I played their game, strategic, silent, relentless, until the truth forced them to face the injustice. Would they admit their mistake? Could I reclaim my place without losing myself? This is the story of how I fought for respect, outsmarted their control, and faced a twist that changed everything. The Sunday brunch at our family's estate in upstate New York was supposed to be routine. The long oak table gleamed under the chandelier, silverware clinking against porcelain plates as my mother fussed over the quiche. I sat at the head, as always, my father to my right, his gray eyes scanning the room like he was still sizing up boardroom rivals. Laura, my younger sister, was across from me, her smile tight, like she was hiding a secret. I should have known then. I'm Amanda Carter, 36, Chief Operating Officer of Carter Energy Solutions, the woman who turned a sleepy family business into a $200 million green energy leader. That morning, I thought I was untouchable. I was wrong. My life? It's been a climb. Not the kind you see in movies, with dramatic music and clear villains. Mine was quieter, sharper, a series of calculated steps. I grew up in Syracuse, in a house that smelled of cedar and ambition. My father, Richard, built Carter Energy from a single wind turbine contract into a regional name. I was his shadow, learning contracts before I learned to drive. By 25, I was running operations, streamlining supply chains, and landing deals he couldn't dream of. I didn't just work for the company, I was the company. Laura, though, preferred the spotlight over the spreadsheets. She'd breeze into meetings with big ideas and bigger charm, but her follow-through was as thin as her designer scarves. I didn't mind. I loved the grind, the late nights, the thrill of a deal closing. My office, with its view of the Syracuse skyline, was my sanctuary. My life was order, purpose, control. That brunch, though, cracked it all open. We just finished the eggs when Richard cleared his throat, his voice heavy, with that rehearsed gravitas he used for big announcements. Amanda, Laura, your mother and I have been discussing the future of Carter Energy. I leaned forward, expecting another expansion plan. Instead, he said, Laura will be named sole successor to the company. It's time to balance Amanda's dominance. The room tilted. Laura's eyes flicked to me. Not smug, but nervous, like she hadn't expected it either. My mother stared at her plate. I felt my pulse in my throat, hot and fast. Dominance? I'd given everything. Sleepless nights, canceled vacations, deals that saved us from bankruptcy. And now, my father was handing it to Laura, who couldn't even read a balance sheet without a highlighter. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at him, his face blurring into the man who'd once called me his secret weapon. The injustice burned, not just because of the title, but because of the lie. That my strength was a flaw, something to be balanced. I wanted to demand answers, to make him admit it was a mistake. But I knew better. Begging wouldn't change him. It never had. So I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood. I unclipped my company keys from my bag, set them on the table, and walked out. The front door slammed behind me, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I didn't look back. I drove to my apartment in downtown Syracuse, the city lights smearing through my windshield. My goal was clear. I'd make them see their mistake, not by pleading, but by proving they needed me. I'd make them admit the injustice, earn their respect, and take back what was mine. But as I sat on my couch, the silence of my empty apartment pressing in, I wondered if I'd just lost everything I'd built. The hurt was raw, a mix of rage and grief. Had I been too strong, too proud, or had they always planned to cut me down? My phone buzzed. A text from Laura. Amanda, let's talk. Please. I ignored it. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses. Instead, I opened my laptop, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I didn't know how yet, but I'd play this game on my terms. Strategic, not desperate. They'd sown their seeds. I'd make sure they reaped the harvest. The first week after I walked out of that brunch felt like holding my breath underwater. My Syracuse apartment, usually a haven of clean lines and soft grays, felt too small, the walls pressing in with every unanswered call from my father. I turned off my phone's ringer, letting Richard's voicemails pile up, 6 by Tuesday, each one sterner than the last. "Amanda, this is childish. Come back to the office." I deleted them without replying. Laura's texts kept coming too, a mix of apologies and pleas. "I didn't ask for this, Mandy. Talk to me." I left them on read. My silence wasn't petty, it was strategy. I needed them to feel the void I'd left at Carter Energy Solutions. I needed them to squirm. I wasn't idle, though. I spent those days at my kitchen table, my laptop glowing, piecing together a plan. My goal burned bright: make them admit they'd wronged me, not by begging, but by showing them what they'd lost. I knew the company's pulse, every client, every contract, every weak spot. I'd built it, after all. Laura couldn't handle the helm. She'd charm a room but fumble the details. My father's decision to name her successor wasn't just unfair, it was reckless. I'd let them see that, but on my terms. By Thursday, I was restless, pacing my apartment, the city's hum outside my window, a faint reminder of the life I'd paused. I wasn't ready to face the office, but I couldn't just sit here. So I drove to a small coffee shop on the edge of Syracuse, a place called The Brew, where the baristas knew me as black coffee, no sugar. I settled into a corner booth with my laptop, the smell of espresso grounding me. I started digging, checking industry news, client updates, anything to keep my finger on Carter Energy's pulse without stepping foot in the office. That's when I saw it, a trade article buried in a green energy forum. Our biggest client, Greenwave Solutions, a $4 million account, was reassessing partnerships after a, quote, disappointing pitch. The date lined up with Laura's first week in charge. I leaned back, a grim smile tugging at my lips. She was already faltering. I sipped my coffee, my mind racing. Greenwave was my client. I'd spent 2 years building trust with their CEO, Elena Torres, a sharp woman who valued results over flash. Laura must have tried her usual razzle-dazzle, probably pushed some trendy rebrand that ignored their core needs. I could have called Elena right then, smoothed things over. But that would have been too easy, too quick. I wanted my family to feel the weight of their choice first. So I waited, letting the chaos unfold. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Check your email, Kay." My stomach twisted. Kay was Kara, my old assistant, still at Carter Energy. She'd always been loyal, slipping me updates even after I left. I opened my email, and there it was, an encrypted file labeled L's Mess. I downloaded it, my heart pounding. Inside were internal memos, meeting notes, and, most damning, a copy of Laura's pitch to Greenwave. It was my strategy, word for word, from a presentation I'd given 2 years ago. She'd recycled my work, slapped her name on it, and still botched the delivery. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Laura wasn't just failing, she was failing me. I leaned back on my couch, the file open on my screen. This was my edge. I could use it, not to sabotage, but to outshine. I'd show Greenwave what real leadership looked like. I'd show my family what they'd thrown away. But I had to be careful. One wrong move, and I'd look like the vindictive one. The thought made my chest tight. Was I being too cold? Too calculated? Maybe. But they'd drawn first blood. I typed a quick reply to Kara. "Keep me posted. You're a gem." Then I started drafting something new. A pitch, not for Carter Energy, but for me, Amanda Carter, independent consultant. I'd go straight to Greenwave, anonymously, and show them what they were missing. The next morning, I woke with a fire in my chest. That encrypted file from Kara, proof Laura had stolen my work, was a weapon, but I had to wield it carefully. I sat at my Syracuse apartment's kitchen table, the city waking up beyond my window, and opened my laptop. My goal hadn't changed. make my family admit they'd wronged me, and earn their respect without groveling. But now, I had a move to make. I wasn't just waiting for Laura to fail, I was stepping into the game. I spent hours crafting a pitch for GreenWave Solutions, the $4 million client Laura had fumbled. Not as Carter Energy's COO, but as Amanda Carter, independent consultant. It was risky. Elena Torres, GreenWave's CEO, knew my name, my face. But I banked on her frustration with Laura's botched presentation. I kept it anonymous, signing the email AC Consulting, and sent a sleek, data-driven proposal that hit every pain point GreenWave had. Cost efficiency, scalable wind tech, community buy-in. It was the kind of work I'd done for years, the kind Laura couldn't fake. I hit send, my heart racing, then leaned back, wondering if I'd just crossed a line. By noon, my phone buzzed with another text from Kara. Laura's in panic mode. GreenWave's threatening to pull out. I pictured my sister in my old office, her perfect curls frazzled, barking at staff to fix her mess. A pang of guilt hit me. Laura wasn't evil, just out of her depth, but she'd taken what wasn't hers, and my father had let her. That guilt faded fast. I texted Kara back, keep me posted. Coffee on me soon. I needed her eyes inside Carter Energy. That afternoon, I drove to the Brew, my coffee shop hideout, to clear my head. The barista, a kid named Sam, slid my black coffee over with a grin. Rough week, huh? I forced a smile. You have no idea. I settled into my usual booth, staring at the steam rising from my cup. I'd always been the fixer, the one who stayed calm when deals went south. Now I was orchestrating chaos. Was this who I was now? The thought gnawed at me, but I pushed it down. They'd left me no choice. Then my burner email pinged. GreenWave's Elena Torres herself. AC, your pitch is compelling. Let's meet virtually tomorrow. Name the time. My breath caught. It worked. They wanted me. Not Laura, not Carter Energy. Me. But the thrill came with a chill. If Elena recognized me, she'd know I was playing both sides. I'd have to be flawless. My voice disguised, my camera off. I replied, setting a 10 a.m. call, my fingers trembling. This was my chance to outshine Laura, to show GreenWave what they'd lost. But it was also a gamble. If it backfired, I'd lose any hope of returning to Carter Energy. I drove home, the Syracuse skyline blurring past. My plan was working, but the stakes felt higher now. Laura's failure was real, and my father's silence was louder than his voicemails. I wondered what he'd say if he knew I was behind this pitch. Would he be proud or furious? I didn't know anymore. All I knew was I couldn't stop. Not yet. The morning of the GreenWave call, I woke before dawn. My Syracuse apartment dark, except for the glow of my laptop. My heart was a drumbeat, steady but loud. I'd spent the night rehearsing my pitch, practicing a lower, clipped tone to mask my voice. My goal? To make my family admit their injustice and earn back respect without begging. Felt closer, but more dangerous. One slip, and Elena Torres would know I was Amanda Carter, not some mysterious AC Consulting. I couldn't afford to falter. I set up in my living room, camera off, a plain gray wall behind me for the video call. The clock hit 10 a.m., and Elena's face appeared on my screen, her sharp eyes scanning her notes. AC, she said, your proposal was bold. Walk me through it. I exhaled, then launched in, pitching a streamlined wind energy plan that cut costs by 15% and boosted community engagement. Details Laura's recycled pitch had ignored. My voice stayed steady, my answers crisp. Elena nodded, jotting notes, then said, "This feels familiar. Have we worked together before?" My stomach dropped. I laughed, light and fake. "Just a fan of your work, Miss Torres." She didn't push, but her eyes lingered. The call ended with a win. Elena wanted a full proposal by next week. I closed my laptop, my hands shaking. I'd outshone Laura, no question. But the rush of victory was cut by a text from Kara. "Laura's losing it." Screamed at a junior exec in front of everyone. GreenWave's officially on hold. I pictured my sister unraveling in my old office, her charm cracking under pressure. Part of me wanted to call her, to say, "You're in over your head, let me help." But that was the old Amanda, the fixer. The new one had a plan, and pity wasn't part of it. I drove to the brew to think. The coffee shop was quiet, Sam the barista wiping down counters. "You look intense today," he said, sliding my coffee over. I smirked. Big day. Sipping my drink, I opened my laptop and started the full proposal for Greenwave. Every word was a jab at Laura's failure, a reminder of what I'd built. But as I typed, my father's face flashed in my mind. His gray eyes, his silence at that brunch. He hadn't called in days. Was he ashamed, or was he doubling down on Laura? The uncertainty stung more than I expected. Then my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Richard. His voice was tight. "Amanda, we need to talk. Laura's struggling, and Greenwave's threatening to walk. Call me." I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over reply. He was reaching out, but not to apologize, just to fix his mess. I texted back, "You reap what you install. Enjoy the harvest." I hit send, my chest tight. It felt good, but it also felt final, like I was burning a bridge I might need later. I leaned back, the coffee shop's hum fading. I was winning, but the cost was creeping up. Elena's suspicion, my father's plea, Laura's chaos. It was all proof my plan was working. But what if it worked too well? What if I got what I wanted, only to find it wasn't enough? I pushed the thought away. I had to stay sharp, stay focused. Greenwave was my leverage, and I wasn't done playing. The next day, I sat in my Syracuse apartment, the morning light slanting through my blinds. My Greenwave pitch had landed, but Elena's suspicion lingered in my mind. I needed to stay sharp to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging. Then my burner email pinged. It was Kara, my loyal ex-assistant, with another encrypted file, Laura's latest flop. My pulse quickened as I opened it. Inside were screenshots of Laura's emails to Greenwave, demanding a modernized branding overhaul that ignored their priorities. Worse, she'd copied my old strategies, down to my phrasing, and still fumbled the execution. It was a neutral twist, proof of her failure, but also a mirror of my own work staring back. I leaned back, a bitter laugh escaping. Laura wasn't just sinking, she was dragging my legacy with her. I could have exposed her theft, but that would have been too obvious. Instead, I saved the file, a quiet ace up my sleeve. My plan was about outshining her, not shouting her down. I worked late into the night, refining my Greenwave proposal. It was sharper than anything Carter Energy had ever sent. Data-driven, practical, irresistible. I sent it to Elena under AC Consulting, my heart thudding. This was my edge, but it felt like walking a wire. By noon, Kara texted, "Laura's blaming everyone but herself. Office is a mess." I pictured my sister in my old office, her confidence crumbling. Guilt flickered. She was my baby sister after all. But she'd chosen to play this game when she accepted Dad's decision. I texted Kara, "Stay safe. Updates appreciated." Then, I drove to the brew, my coffee shop refuge. Sam, the barista, nodded as he handed me my coffee. "You okay?" he asked. I shrugged. Getting there. I settled in a booth, staring at my laptop. The stakes were higher now. If Elena loved my proposal, I'd have real leverage. If she didn't, or if she sniffed out my identity, I'd lose everything. As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed. A new voicemail from Dad. "Amanda, this is serious. Greenwave's on the brink. Call me." His voice cracked, almost desperate. I didn't reply. He'd sown this chaos. Let him feel it. But his tone stuck with me, a reminder of the father who'd once trusted me. Was I pushing too far? I shook it off. I was close to proving they needed me. I just had to hold the line. The Syracuse morning was gray, rain tapping my apartment windows as I stared at my laptop. My Greenwave proposal was out, sent under AC Consulting, and now I waited, my goal, to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging, hanging on Elena Torres's reply. Kara's file, proof Laura had stolen my strategies, burned in my mind. It was a weapon, but I'd chosen to wield it subtly, letting Laura's failures speak for themselves. My phone stayed silent, no word from Dad or Laura. The quiet felt like a held breath, heavy with what was coming. I worked from my kitchen table, refining my next steps. If Elena bit, I'd have leverage to force my family's hand. If she didn't, I'd be back to square one, with nothing but Kara's file and my pride. Around noon, my burner email pinged. Elena, AC, your proposal is exceptional. We want a virtual meeting to discuss terms. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. My heart leapt, then sank. Another call meant another chance for her to recognize me. I typed a quick confirmation, my fingers steady despite the nerves. I'd have to be perfect. Voice disguised, camera off, no slip-ups. I drove to the brew to clear my head, the coffee shop's warmth a contrast to the drizzle outside. Sam, the barista, slid my black coffee over with a grin. You look like you're plotting something big. I smirked, something like that. Settling into my booth, I opened my laptop to prep for the call. I ran through my pitch, practicing answers to every curveball Elena might throw. But my mind kept drifting to Laura. Kara's latest text had painted a grim picture. Laura was alienating staff, snapping at meetings, and Greenwave was officially pausing their contract. She was crumbling, just as I'd planned. So why did I feel a pang of something? Regret, maybe? She was my sister, not a stranger, but she'd taken my place, and Dad had let her. As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed. A text from Kara. Laura's pushing a new pitch to Greenwave. It's a mess, but Dad's backing her. My jaw tightened. Richard was doubling down, even as Laura floundered. I pictured him in his office, his gray eyes stubborn, refusing to admit he'd bet on the wrong daughter. I wanted to call him, to say, "You see it now, don't you?" But that wasn't the plan. I needed Greenwave to choose me, to force his hand. I texted Kara back, "Thanks. Keep me posted." Then I leaned back, staring at the rain-streaked window. My anonymous pitch was a shadow play, a way to outshine Laura without stepping into the light. But each move felt heavier, like I was risking more than just my career. What if I won, only to lose them for good? I pushed the thought away. Tomorrow's call was my chance to tip the scales. I'd show Elena what Carter Energy was missing. I'd show them all. The day of the Greenwave meeting, I woke with a knot in my stomach, the kind that feels like a warning. My Syracuse apartment was quiet, the morning light pale through the curtains. My goal, to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging, was within reach. Elena Torres's email had called my proposal exceptional, and today's 2 p.m. virtual meeting could seal it, but the stakes were higher than ever. If Elena recognized me as Amanda Carter, not AC Consulting, my plan would collapse. I couldn't let that happen. I spent the morning in my living room, camera off, testing my disguised voice. Lower, clipped, not a trace of the COO she'd met. I reviewed my pitch, a lean, green energy strategy that outdid Laura's recycled mess. By noon, I was ready, but nerves gnawed at me. I drove to the brew, needing the coffee shop's hum to steady me. Sam, the barista, slid my black coffee over with a raised eyebrow. "You look like you're about to rob a bank." I laughed, sharp and quick. "Just closing a deal." I settled into my booth, laptop open, and ran through my notes one last time. This was it, my chance to outshine Laura and force my family's hand. At 2 p.m., I joined the call. Elena's face filled my screen, her eyes sharp as ever. "AC, let's dive in," she said. I pitched with precision, outlining cost savings and community benefits, answering her questions without a hitch. Then, halfway through, she leaned forward. "This approach, it's exactly what Carter Energy used to deliver. Are you sure we haven't met?" My heart stopped. I forced a chuckle. "Just a shared vision, Miss Torres." She didn't press, but her silence felt heavy. The call ended with a bombshell. "We want you as our point person, AC. If Carter Energy can't deliver you, we're out." I logged off, my pulse racing. A positive twist. Greenwave wanted me. Not Laura, not Carter Energy, but me. I leaned back, the victory bittersweet. This was what I'd wanted. Proof I was indispensable. But it meant stepping out of the shadows soon, revealing myself. Would Elena feel betrayed? Would my family? I pushed the thought aside and checked my phone. A new text from Kara. "Laura's pitch today was a disaster. Greenwave's done with her. Dad's furious." I could picture Richard in his office, his gray eyes stormy, Laura shrinking under his glare. For a moment I felt a twinge of pity. Laura hadn't asked for this pressure, but she'd taken my place, and Dad had let her. They'd made their choice. I sipped my coffee, the shop's chatter fading. Greenwave's demand was my leverage, but it came with a cost. I'd have to confront my family soon, lay out my terms. The thought made my chest tight. I'd spent years being the fixer, the one who smoothed things over. Now I was the one breaking them apart. Was I ready to face Dad's disappointment, Laura's tears? I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't back down. I'd come too far. That night, I drafted an email to Elena, still as AC, confirming I'd discuss terms soon. I didn't send it yet. I needed time to plan my next move, how to use this win without losing everything else. The rain had stopped, and Syracuse's skyline glowed outside my window. I was winning, but it didn't feel like triumph. Not yet. The Syracuse skyline glittered outside my apartment window, but inside, my world felt like it was teetering. Greenwave's demand that I, disguised as AC Consulting, be their point person, or they'd walk, had handed me the leverage I needed. My goal was unchanged: make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging. But now, I had to step out of the shadows. The thought made my stomach twist as I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, drafting my next move. This wasn't just about winning anymore, it was about what I'd lose. I spent the morning strategizing. Greenwave's ultimatum was my trump card, but I had to play it right. I couldn't stay anonymous forever. Elena Torres would expect a face, a name, soon. I decided to confront my family first, lay out my terms before revealing myself to her. I typed a text to my father, Richard. "Dinner tonight. Your place. We need to talk." My thumb hovered over send, my heart pounding. I hadn't spoken to him since that brunch, when he'd named Laura his successor to balance my dominance. The memory still burned. I hit send, then waited. His reply came fast. 7 p.m., be there. No warmth, just command. Typical Dad. I drove to the brew to kill time, the coffee shop's familiar hum calming my nerves. Sam, the barista, slid my coffee over. "You look ready for battle," he said. I smirked. Something like that. Sipping my drink, I rehearsed my demands. 30% ownership of Carter Energy, full operational authority, and a public retraction of Dad's succession announcement. It was bold, but Greenwave's threat gave me the edge. Still, doubt crept in. What if Dad refused? What if Laura broke down? I pushed it away. They'd wronged me. It was time they faced it. At 7 p.m., I pulled into the family estate, the sprawling house looming under upstate New York's starry sky. My mother, Ellen, opened the door, her smile strained. "Amanda, it's good to see you." I nodded, stepping inside. The dining room was set, the oak table gleaming like that brunch weeks ago. Richard sat at the head, his gray eyes guarded. Laura was beside him, her face pale, her usual poise gone. We sat, the silence heavy as Mom served roast chicken. Then Dad spoke. "You've made your point, Amanda. Greenwave's on the brink. What do you want?" I leaned forward, my voice steady. "You named Laura successor to balance me." That was a lie. I built Carter Energy, and you threw me aside. Greenwave wants me back, or they're gone. My terms: 30% ownership, full control of operations, and you retract your announcement publicly. Laura gasped, her eyes welling. "You're vindictive," she whispered. Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. I held his gaze, my heart racing. This was the moment I'd planned for, but it felt raw, like peeling back a wound. Laura's voice cracked. "I didn't want this, Amanda. I'm trying, but it's too much." I looked at her, my sister, drowning in a role she wasn't ready for. Pity stirred, but I tamped it down. She'd taken my place. Dad leaned back, his fingers steepled. "You're playing hardball, but Laura needs guidance. Help her, and we'll talk terms." I shook my head. "No deals. You admit you were wrong, or I walk, for good." The words hung there, final. Mom's fork clinked against her plate. Dad's eyes flickered, not with anger, but something softer. Regret, maybe? I stood, my chair scraping. "Think it over. Greenwave won't wait." I left, the night air cool against my face. Driving home, my chest was tight. I'd laid my cards down, but Laura's tears and Dad's hesitation stuck with me. Was I too harsh? No, they'd forced my hand. Still, the victory felt hollow. I was close to winning, but at what cost? The drive back to my Syracuse apartment felt endless, the dark roads blurring as Laura's tearful face haunted me. I'd laid out my ultimatum at dinner: 30% ownership, full operational control, and a public retraction of Dad's succession lie, or I'd walk for good. My goal, to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging, was so close I could taste it. But the victory felt heavy, like a stone in my chest. I'd played my hand, used Greenwave's demand as leverage, but Laura's broken voice, "I'm trying, Amanda," kept echoing. Had I pushed too far? I parked and climbed the stairs to my apartment, the silence inside deafening. My phone sat dark. No texts, no voicemails. Dad hadn't caved yet, and I wasn't sure he would. I sank onto my couch, staring at the city lights. I'd spent weeks orchestrating this, from walking out to outshining Laura with my anonymous pitch. Greenwave wanted me, not her, and that power felt good. But the look in Laura's eyes, the way Mom's fork had trembled against her plate, it gnawed at me. I wasn't just fighting for respect. I was tearing at the seams of our family. The next morning, I woke to a text from Kara, my inside line at Carter Energy. Dad's meeting with Laura all day. Staff's whispering about Greenwave pulling out. You're shaking things up. I smiled grimly, but the thrill was fleeting. I headed to the brew, needing the coffee shop's familiar buzz to ground me. Sam, the barista, slid my black coffee over. You look like you won something, but you're not happy about it, he said. I shrugged. Winning's complicated. I settled into my booth, laptop open, and checked my burner email. Elena Torres had sent a follow-up. AC, we need a decision by tomorrow. You're our point person, or we're done with Carter Energy. The deadline tightened the knot in my stomach. I had to reveal myself soon, but first, I needed Dad's answer. I spent the day drafting my reveal to Elena, admitting I was Amanda Carter, not AC Consulting. It was risky. She might feel played, but Greenwave's demand was my only leverage. If Dad agreed to my terms, I'd return as COO. If not, I'd go independent, maybe start my own firm. The thought was thrilling and terrifying. I'd built Carter Energy from nothing. Could I do it again? Alone? My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. A voicemail from Dad. Amanda, come to the office tomorrow, 10 a.m. We'll settle this. His voice was calm, almost resigned. My heart raced. Was he ready to admit he'd been wrong? I drove home, the Syracuse skyline glowing. Laura's tears flashed in my mind again. She wasn't the enemy, just out of her depth. Dad's choice had put her there, not me. But I'd pushed them both to the edge. As I parked, a new text from Kara hit. Heads up, Laura's been deleting old project files. Yours. Be careful. My blood ran cold. A negative twist. Laura, desperate, was trying to erase my legacy. I checked my backups. Years of strategies, deals, my life's work. Most were safe, but the betrayal stung. She wasn't just failing. She was fighting dirty. I sat on my couch, anger mixing with dread. Tomorrow, I'd face Dad, maybe Laura too. I'd have to call her out, protect my work, and hold my ground. But the cost was clearer now. Not just a job, but the family I'd fought for. Was respect worth this rift? I didn't know anymore. All I knew was I couldn't back down. The morning of the meeting with my father, I woke to the Syracuse dawn, painting my apartment in soft golds. My goal, to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging, was so close, yet it felt like standing on a cliff's edge. Kara's text about Laura deleting my project files had kept me up half the night, my anger simmering. Those files were my legacy, years of deals and strategies that built Carter Energy. Laura wasn't just floundering, she was trying to erase me. I checked my backups again, relief washing over me. They were intact, but the betrayal cut deep, sharpening my resolve. I dressed carefully, a tailored blazer and slacks, armor for the battle ahead. Driving to Carter Energy's office downtown, the familiar glass building loomed. its sleek lines a testament to my work. My stomach churned as I parked. Dad's voicemail had been vague. "We'll settle this." And I didn't know if he'd bend or fight. Laura's sabotage added a new layer of stakes. I clutched my laptop, loaded with evidence of her deleted files and my GreenWave proposal. This wasn't just about respect anymore. It was about protecting what I'd built. Inside, the office buzzed with tension. Staff glanced at me, their whispers trailing as I headed to the conference room. Dad sat at the head of the table, his gray eyes unreadable. Laura was beside him, her face pale, eyes red-rimmed. My mother, Ellen, stood by the window, her hands clasped tight. No one spoke as I sat, the air thick. "Amanda," Dad began, his voice low, "GreenWave's ready to walk. You've made your point. What's it going to take?" I leaned forward, my voice steady. "I told you my terms: 30% ownership, full operational control, and a public retraction of your succession announcement. You said Laura was the future. She's not. She's deleting my files to cover her failures." Laura's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "That's not true," she cried, but her voice wavered. I opened my laptop, pulling up Kara's screenshots. Timestamps, file logs, Laura's name. "You tried to erase my work," I said, sliding the screen toward Dad. He stared at it, his jaw tight. Laura's tears spilled over. "I was scared, okay? You left, and I couldn't keep up. I thought if your files were gone, they'd stop comparing me to you." My chest ached. She was my sister, drowning in a role she never wanted. But she crossed a line. Dad's voice was quiet. "Laura, go! I need to talk to Amanda." She fled, sobbing, and Mom followed, her face crumpled. Alone with Dad, I braced myself. He leaned back, his eyes heavy. "I thought Laura could learn, balance things. I was wrong. GreenWave wants you. I'll give you 25% and control. The retraction. I'll do it privately." I shook my head. 30%, and it's public. I earned this." He nodded slowly, a surrender I'd never seen. "All right, come back. Fix this." I felt a rush. Triumph, yes, but hollow. I'd won, but Laura's sobs echoed in my mind. Driving home, I felt the weight of it all. GreenWave was mine to save, my place restored. But Laura's desperation, Dad's regret. Had I broken more than I'd fixed? I had one move left, the reveal to Elena, and the conference stage to reclaim my role. But the cost was clearer now. The Syracuse morning was crisp, the sky a sharp blue as I drove to Carter Energy's office for the Green Energy Conference. My goal, to make my family admit their injustice and earn respect without begging, was finally in my grasp. Dad had agreed to my terms: 30% ownership, full operational control, and a public retraction of his succession lie. GreenWave was mine to save, but Laura's sabotage, deleting my files, still stung, a wound that hadn't healed. Today, I'd reclaim my place as COO, but the cost of this victory weighed heavy. I'd emailed Elena Torres the night before, revealing I was Amanda Carter, not AC Consulting. Her reply was curt but open. "Bold move. Let's talk post-conference." I knew she might feel played, but my pitch had won her trust, and I'd deliver. The conference was my stage to prove it. To her, to the industry, to my family. I parked, my blazer crisp, my laptop loaded with the GreenWave deal I'd salvaged. The office buzzed, staff nodding as I passed. Kara caught my eye, her smile quick. "You've got this," she mouthed. I nodded, grateful for her loyalty. The conference room was packed, industry leaders and press filling the seats. Dad stood by the podium, his gray eyes scanning the crowd. Laura sat in the front row, her face pale, Mom beside her. I took my place backstage, my heart steady but loud. Dad stepped up, his voice clear. "I made a mistake naming Laura my successor. Amanda Carter is the heart of this company. She's back as COO with my full support." The room murmured, cameras flashing. He stepped down, his eyes meeting mine. Regret? Pride? Something unspoken. I felt a pang but pushed it aside. This was my moment. I took the stage, the spotlight warm. "Carter Energy thrives because we deliver." I began, my voice firm. I laid out the GreenWave deal. Cost cuts, Community wins. A future Laura's pitch had fumbled. The crowd leaned in, Elena nodding from the third row. I didn't mention Laura's theft or sabotage. I didn't need to. My work spoke louder. As I finished, applause roared, but my eyes flicked to my family. Dad's face was unreadable, Mom's soft with relief. Laura's was blank, her eyes fixed on the floor. I stepped down, the triumph sharp but bittersweet. Backstage, Elena approached. "You took a risk, Amanda, but you delivered. We're in." I exhaled, the deal sealed. But as she walked away, I turned to find my family gone. They'd left without a word. The realization hit like a wave. I'd won, but they couldn't face me. Not Dad, who'd betrayed me. Not Laura, who'd tried to erase me. Not even Mom, who'd stayed silent. I stood alone, the conference hum fading. I'd fought for respect, but I'd drawn a line they couldn't cross. My boundaries were final, my victory cold. Driving home, Syracuse's skyline glowed. I'd rebuilt the deal, reclaimed my role, and forced their admission. But the twist wasn't the deal or the stage. It was the silence of their absence. I'd grown, not just as COO, but as Amanda, a woman who'd learned her worth didn't need their applause. I'd walk forward, alone if I had to, stronger for it. What do you think of Amanda's final stand? Would you have walked away from family for your truth? Share below, like, and subscribe for more stories of triumph.